get back your transmission brand new. For them service excellent and efficient. Trust me, man. Yeah, hear me? Call them at 929-7040. Or go to them at 106 Maxfield Avenue, Kingston 13 and talk directly to the boss. Just tell them I'm me send you.
Wow, you big star. Yeah, man, respect my boss.
Yeah, try calling her, cause trust me.
Waiters Auto Spares and Repairs, good afternoon.
Ah, what a relief.
Veteran Printers for all your printing needs. We specialize in calendars, flyers, brochures, and more. Call us today at 968-7506. That's 968-7506. Or visit us at 4 East Bloomsbury Road, off Haggard Park Road. Veteran Printers, your best choice in printing.
Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
The Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM.
It's good, it's better, but nothing beats. And they cohabit.
Good morning and welcome back. So I'm going to share a pattern with you, but I got to observe a formality with great joy and love. I want to say happy birthday to my sister Maureen. I'm giving my niece time to record it, so I see her looking. Are you ready? Are you ready, niece? Yes. Okay. So I am the number 3 child of 7 for my mother. Number 1 is my big sister Maureen. She's followed by another sister, Dasmin, living in New York, and so I am number 3. So I had 2 big sisters who blazed a very hot trail for me to follow. Big sister Maureen is celebrating her birthday today, and I just want to say to her, happy, happy, happy birthday. I am grateful to have been the beneficiary of her love and her support. And she has taught me what it is to give sacrificially and wholeheartedly so that others can be free to pursue their own dreams. Even as I speak, she is the person who has gone home to be with my mom, who has some mobility challenges. And she does so without any thought to what it means in terms of her personal ambitions and dreams. And I think our family is so very blessed that a child can take that decision and move into it with grace and patience and love. So I just want to wish her a very, very happy birthday. And I will certainly see you soon.
And I want to...
Yes, cousin Pastor Palmer.
Just wishing you... I met her and... I was just reminded, yes, I met that sister.
Yes, every time Pastor said, did I meet that one? I said, no.
And I said, no, man.
Then he forces me to remember.
Yes, and she was such a nice person to interact with. It was a brief encounter, but her generosity of spirit, that just came across so quickly in terms of my interaction with her and her grace. So, many, 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 many more to you. And the Lord bless you. And the Lord continue to expand you even in your life. And I just see God doing new things for you.
Do you see her getting married? She's single.
I never go down the road there. No. If me see me would tell you. But hello, don't laugh. Don't laugh. I remember there's a lady in our church who...
All right.
At that point, I was saying, no, she said, no, man, I'm going to get married. And, she got married at that point in her life, and she's lived happily ever after. So, Dasmin, go on, sis. It's Dasmin, right?
No, it's Maureen.
Desmond is one that we
Desmond
can
is in New York.
Desmond that I should
didn't
have
call her
met.
name, did I say Big Sister Maureen? I
Yes,
may
you
have.
did, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But Desmond, we met over the phone. And she said, next time when you come, but I met Maureen, yes.
Slowly you are meeting everybody in my family.
And I met a sister of yours before we reconnected.
Oh, yeah? Which one?
The one who's a pharmacist.
Oh.
And it was trouble.
Yes, I know.
We say name Palmer, you must be a relative. And then she said, I know him, you remember?
Yes, I know. Luckily you were well behaved because she said, I didn't know he was a pastor.
Yes.
But she didn't say, Anna behave, sir. that would have been the follow-up. But that was not the follow-up.
It was not the...
No, that was not the follow-up.
But the truth is, when I interact with people, I don't tell them that I'm a pastor. Because what happens is, it's a wall go up.
They shut down.
Yeah, it's a wall go up.
They shut down.
Yeah, I said, no, okay. Then after them say, well, you know, a normal pastor. I said, okay, I don't know what a normal pastor is, but I'm a pastor.
You're a bongo pastor. Let's get that clear. All right, so let us return you now to the matter at hand. Very serious matter, actually, because, we use this expression that you don't see the forest because of the trees.
True.
You're so focused on the minutia that you miss the big picture. I think that's happening to us somewhat. And I just want to rise above that conversation and look at the forest. Here's the forest. Do you remember? I know Josiah the Reformer was a favorite king of yours. He died badly because he was disobedient. Went into a war that was not his. And even after he had been warned by none other than the pagan king, king of Egypt,
don't take it on.
Said, your God command me to do this, and it don't involve you, so go home. He persisted, he went to war, he was injured, and he died. Now, this is the forest that I'm looking at, because after he died came a series of kings like wham, wham, wham. I mean, there wasn't any for 18 years, like how we had the PNP for 18 years. Some of them were 3 months, and that caught my attention, because didn't we have like a 3-month prime minister, or 2 months? Yes, we did. After Prime Minister Golding was deposed.
Oh, and he handed it over to, okay, yes, I remember that.
Yes.
Donald Trump's too.
So we've had the same kind of, so I'm going to take you back into it. So let us look. Josiah was the good king. He carried out all kinds of reforms, brought back the temple, and then in the final days, he went to war. He heard that the king of Egypt had mobilized for war, and he went to be involved in a war that was not his war. And the king of Egypt sent messengers to him saying, I don't have a quarrel with you here. Why are you coming? It is not you I am attacking at this time. God has told me to hurry, so stop opposing God who is with me, or he will destroy you. Now, that was like the first thing that caught my attention. Here's the king of Egypt receiving and sending a message.
And
instruction from the God of Israel.
Who would have
given the instruction
on their side.
And who would have given the word directly to his own people.
But
he used the king of Egypt to deliver a message to Josiah.
And that's not a new thing. Because
it isn't.
Yeah, because remember when
Cyrus
said, you are anointed.
Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah, anointed. So
nothing new in that. So all those who feel that God only speaking to the Jews, or God is only speaking to black people or Negroes or whatever word.
But he uses the people that he chooses because he
in his sovereignty.
Yes, don't forget that.
In his sovereignty, anyone in his creation. In fact, there was a time when he chose a donkey. And if you believe Jonah, he chose a fish.
A whale.
So anyone in this created realm he has access to everything that he has created. And it's not like how we don't really have access to our children sometimes.
Yeah,
he has real access because he made them.
And that's an important principle, that we some of the times as Christians forget. He is sovereign. He,
Don't need our permission. Don't have to do it the way we think.
right. And so let us
We
get
can't
that clear.
tie him to a pattern.
Clear.
Although, if you really love him and understand
patterns
that he's unchangeable in his ways, he will give you the heart to discern the pattern. He gives that to some people for sure. Jesus said it himself to his disciples. He says, to them I speak in parables, but to you
Right.
I give the secrets.
Yeah. So we just need to remember that.
Yeah.
And it's a wake-up call for us as Christians.
I'm coming closer to where I'm going. So this is how Josiah, the good king, ended. He wouldn't retreat from the war, disguised himself to engage in battle, as if you can hide from God. Of course, he was injured, and he died at home. After he died now, a series of events happened, which is what I am now likening to Jamaica's situation, let's just say even then, since independence, since 1960, when we started now to have our own kings. Josiah's son, Jehoahaz, was made king at 23 years old. He reigned 3 months. The same king of Egypt dethroned him and taxed them heavily and made his brother Eliakim king, changed his name to Jehoiakim, and took one of them off to Egypt, took the deposed king off to Egypt, put his brother in place. That brother was 25 years old. He reigned 11 years. And in typical fashion, Chronicles says, he did evil in the eyes of the Lord. And so Nebuchadnezzar attacked him and took him off to Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar put another brother as king. Actually, his son, Jehoiachin, was installed as king. That one was 18 years old when he became king, and he reigned 3 months and 10 days. 3 months and 10 days. In that little bit of time, he did evil in the eyes of the Lord. And in the spring, King Nebuchadnezzar sent for him and took him to Babylon, along with precious items from the temple, and put his uncle Zedekiah over Judah and Jerusalem. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he became king. He reigned 11 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord. I'm saying the words and hoping you're catching the pattern. Every one of those, call them prime ministers, call them president, call them king, whatever you're going to call them, they came in and they all followed in each other's footsteps. Sounds familiar? People are saying it was the PNP, then the JLP, then the PNP, then the JLP. Not always the same person. But whoever it was, they came in, saw the mess that the other one leave behind, and created this and follow back at him. But if you notice, it keeps saying, did evil. This one, Zedekiah, did not humble himself before the prophet.
That's an interesting addition to the pattern. All of them did evil, but this time,
this one, no.
The prophet
God has begun to send messengers, like people who speak randomly in the morning hours, talking about righteousness and justice, and being watchmen on the wall, and calling to repentance, not calling you to the altar so you can accept the Lord as your Savior and be saved. Different kind of repentance. The one that tells you about work being worship and love in action, meaning caring for the people who you have covenant with, the school children who are looking at some grim days ahead right now, the widows, the poor people who get burnt out of their homes and have nowhere to go, and we don't seem to hear anything about it, the disabled who have a little subsidy in their NHT entitlement and it is removed.
Yeah, and we could continue.
And we could continue, but the point I'm making here is that you can see time after time, a country, a nation falls into error because the leaders come in. They see the one who is being carried off to Babylon in chains going. You can still see.
They can actually see.
You can see him going off. And you come in and you don't say, okay, what can I do differently?
Change the pattern.
And so now we're getting closer to the great danger that they were in. Jeremiah the prophet is now speaking the word of the Lord to the leaders.
to the princes.
They don't pay him no mind. In fact, if everybody
They
who
lock
know
him up.
poor Jeremiah's story, he spent more time in the pit and under house arrest. Just like how you put the church in a corner.
So stay there.
Isolate them, pluck them out of everything, blame them when things don't go right,
Ask for
curse
help,
them. Yes, ask for help with a lack of sincerity, no humility. You make a pretense of consulting with them. You find, and when I say you, now I really need to say we, because if the people were not complicit
In
in
that
the
action.
behavior of their leaders, the country would be saved. The nation would be saved.
I want to add
Yes.
this comment. And this happened years ago. The church sat down with the political class, and the comment was to them, when you are united, then you can come talk to me.
That's what the political class says.
Yes.
That they themselves will have no unity.
Yeah, but they understood that if the church were united in terms of their voice, and
Greater
what they-
impact.
greater impact, because they recognize the power of the church in this country. So it's I think I just needed to add that in.
Yes.
So to all of us who are calling out the different denominations and so on, the word of the Lord is, Jesus says he prayed that they become one, even as he is one, because
and his Father are one.
he recognized the power of unity. And if you read the Psalms, it says that's where the blessing really becomes. So this is a call out to all of us who are church people. We need to become united amongst the common things, the things that unite us. There are so many things that unite us than the things that divide us. And we can use a simple pattern: righteousness, justice and truth. Let
Yeah.
those things unite us, and we will have a greater impact. Indeed, we can turn and change the situation around. Yeah.
So I'm going to touch on something that is a favorite of yours, mine too, but you've said it a few times. Once we uncovered that, we've not left it alone. So King Zedekiah, who was installed by the pagan King Nebuchadnezzar, it is said of him, he did evil in the eyes of the Lord his God, did not humble himself before Jeremiah the prophet, who spoke the word of the Lord. He also rebelled against King Nebuchadnezzar, who had made him take an oath in God's name. Nebuchadnezzar, the pagan king, say, take an oath in the name of your God. Because if you believe in your God, you would at least respect the oath that you took. We are in a situation now where people are taking oaths that don't even mention God. They swear by themselves. Of Zedekiah, it is said he became stiff-necked, hardened his heart, would not turn to the Lord, the God of Israel. And now comes the mention of the people. Furthermore, all the leaders of the priests and the people became more and more unfaithful, following all the detestable practices of the nations and defiling the temple of the Lord, which he had consecrated in Jerusalem. And the next big headline is the fall of Jerusalem.
The utter collapse.
Yeah.
You made a point yesterday that if people repent, even though something will happen, he moves it along.
Yes. Not in your lifetime. And we saw that pattern emerging too.
Yeah, when the people turn because of what he has spoken, he's not going to take it back. But if people repent and change their ways, and God moves it. So you're not going to get
he spares you the awfulness of his wrath.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with someone. I think it may have been on air, and we were talking about the escalating severity of all these global warming events, and I kept saying, as they sort of ratcheted up to the point of the apocalyptic event, I kept saying, unless. I just kept saying, unless. I found myself saying, unless. And the person was saying, there's no unless. That's where it's going. And all that was in my spirit is that God has demonstrated in his relationship with man that for the people who seek him, he will always
Make a way.
shorten the period of punishment or the day of his wrath. He always makes a way so that you who show yourself to be repentant and having the right heart, you don't carry the full weight of
don't get the full weight,
of it.
the
Yes,
full
you
brunt of
don't.
it.
Always. So yes, the atmosphere is heating up, and we see things are happening. I mean, I saw the news that in Pakistan, they say now 1,000 and odd people have died in the
Because of the
water
floods.
disaster. To this point of the year, they've lost 1,000 and odd persons. So you see that things are happening. But if at this time it would have been 2,000, but the faithful were making intercession and doing their ordained job, it will be 1,000.
Yeah.
Not saying it's going to be zero, because, I mean, there's still punishment to be borne. But the severity of it is always lessened for the faithful.
You know, I've been part of experiences where we've prayed. You remember the hurricane that was coming, smack on us, and it just
There have
come
been
and
several of those that come on the island and
just
turn,
sit down and just sit. It just
Yeah.
sat there,
saying, should I? Shouldn't I?
and then it just
Yeah.
skirt and gone. But
Well, the prayers of the faithful.
we know that, and people
yeah.
mock us and say, "Oh,
Yeah.
we really be," but
The funeral I went to on the weekend, my cousin was buried in the country, and the preacher said of the church, she said, this is a place of miracle. And she told a story. She said, when they were digging the foundation of the church there, it was raining heavily, and it sounded like a hillside, and there was some concern about being able to safely continue the work. And the pastor held up his hand and prayed, and the rain stopped. She said immediately the rain stopped.
that has happened to me. I went up into the hills to do a wedding, and the rain looked like it was come, and it was a Christian wedding, and I just went out, played some music, and we just said, because in that area, rain just fall all of the time. Up in Jackson. We just
So no, never just plan a rainy wedding and done.
No, sister.
Planning an outdoor wedding.
It was an outdoor wedding, and I just like said,
Great
just
faith.
pray. And I said no, and I declared over the mic, and I says, no rain not going to fall. We're going to do the ceremony, and then when we are finished, you can fall. And I said up to me, and the clouds
Parted.
and the sun came through, and the rain. The people say, really? I said, well,
Even say ask.
yeah, so I'm asking and I'm believing because Jesus did that over the elements. So, and there have been other occasions.
So the thing to do, is keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because you may do it one time and you think, oh, that's a fluke.
No,
But if you keep doing it and you keep seeing the results, just keep doing it. Your faith is built up.
when Peter walked on water, or this is a recorded thing, and they walked on water. There was a revival that happened in modern day is Malaysia. It's a Muslim country, but these young men got saved. They were teenagers, and they were going from village to village, sharing the gospel. And what happened? It was monsoon season, and then when monsoon season, rain fall and river come down, and they came to this river. And they said, well, it says that Jesus walked upon the water, that Peter walked upon the water. So we go in.
Peter can do it, we can do it.
And they walked on the water, and the people say, how did you
Get here.
Because the river was in spade. And when the river is in spade, you don't take that. And they walked on the water. And it's recorded in a book in terms of their experience and what God did for them. In terms of, because they believe, they exercise their faith. And the thing with faith is that the people them have greater faith than we. Because we say, no man. Try them say, God say it. So that's why it says, we must be like little children if we're going to walk in the kingdom.
All right. So I just want to wrap this up before we move on to something else. I really wanted to communicate in the strongest possible way that Jamaica's situation is not new under the sun.
True.
We may be thinking that the Old Testament stories are just that, but I am telling you, you look at them, they expose a pattern that is very easy to understand once you look at it and to follow it. So I was just moved to share this history of kings coming into office and doing the same detestable things. And I mean, you may be thinking that it is about idol worship and so on. It is about abusing people, injustices, disrespecting God, having no place for God in how you make your decisions. You are more concerned with what your neighbor, the powerful neighbor to the north, thinks. You're more concerned about, can I get the next vote? Can I carry the votes at the next polling day? You are more concerned about, can I enrich myself so that when I come out of politics or when I'm finished with this work, I don't have to be worrying about the paltry pension that the government provides. All these decisions that are selfish in their origin and have when we make no time for the things of God and the ways of God, that's the evil. The evil is not sacrificing your children or carrying on the slave trade. The evil are the very things Pastor and I were listing before. Taking away a subsidy from somebody whose situation requires that they get a break.
Yeah. Those things.
Those are the things that were there because those are not of God. The absence of righteousness in how we share and administer public resources.
Every day.
That is the evil, the everyday things. When you hear people crying out and saying, from one season to the next is the same thing, it's the same thing. Teachers, nurses, professionals fleeing the country because they don't feel like this country gives them hope. That's the evil, creating that environment of hopelessness. So I'm speaking specifically on that this morning, that there's a pattern. It is evident. We can break it. We see too where the leaders, society became scornful of God and the things of God.
Yes, man.
Here it is said of Jerusalem of that age.
Fall of it.
The Lord, the God of their ancestors, sent word to them through his messengers again and again, because he had pity on his people and on his dwelling place. But what's the behavior? They mocked God's messengers, despised his words, and scoffed at his prophets until the wrath of the Lord was aroused against his people, and there was no remedy. And so he brought against them the king of Babylon, and they were taken into exile. But here's the consequence. I'm speaking now to the land. Yeah, you want to know, can the land hear? Yes, the land can hear. Jamaica, our environment, which we treat with such shabby respect, we litter it, we dig up what we shouldn't, we plant where we shouldn't, we kill the fish, we are disrespectful of the mountains, we're mining where we should leave the land undisturbed.
Yeah,
God says he will give the land rest. I'm just going to finish there. When the people are carried into exile, the land will enjoy its Sabbath rests. All the time of its desolation, the land in Jerusalem, in Israel, rested until 70 years were completed in fulfillment of the word of the Lord, spoken by Jeremiah. So all who feel that nature is to be bullied and preyed upon, and it is the land is ours, we can just take from it and do as we please. Please, when we gone, the land will rest.
That's why when COVID, some places came back as we come up on the break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A difference you can hear, a difference you can feel.
Best FM, keep listening.
Exporting goods overseas is one of the many ways local farmers and manufacturers expand the reach of their goods. The United States, being so nearby, is the island's primary trading partner. But before a farmer or manufacturer can export products directly to the U.S., the goods must meet certain entry requirements, a process called accreditation.
Accreditation confirms the technical competence, integrity, and impartiality of our conformity assessment activities. The growth in international trade has paralleled the rapid growth of national and international voluntary and mandatory technical regulations, standards, and other criteria that have been introduced by these states to safeguard their consumers.
Chief Executive Officer, Jamaica National Agency for Accreditation, JANAC, Sharon May Shirley. Until recently, in order to export to the United States, Jamaican business owners had to seek accreditation services from companies outside of Jamaica.
Notably, JANAC, with its ear to the ground, heard the pleas from our stakeholders. And these pleas crescendoed as far back as in 2011, when the Food Safety Modernization Act was passed in the United States. It impacted our exportation, and we listened, and we are here today because you spoke and we acted. And today we are one of 4 accreditation bodies in the world so recognized to accredit third-party certification bodies.
Accredited third-party certification is a voluntary program under which the FDA recognizes accreditation bodies that will have responsibility for validating third-party certification entities. Ms. Shirley says receiving authorization from the FDA falls in line with the agency's mandate.
And our mandate is to ensure Jamaica's compliance with the World Trade Organization's Technical Barriers to Trade Agreement by providing transparent, accredited conformity assessment services that conform to international standards, effectively leveling the playing field.
The agency is one of 4 FDA-approved accreditation bodies globally and the sole entity in the English-speaking Caribbean. Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Senator Auburn Hill, says the FDA's approval of JANAC represents a major achievement for Jamaica and the wider region.
JANAC is now acknowledged as an entity that meets the applicable FDA requirements to conduct food safety audits and issue certifications of foreign food facilities such as farms and the foods that they produce. This is a major achievement for Jamaica and the region, as the manufacturing and export industries will benefit from job creation, market access, and product diversification for exports to the United States.
Executive Director of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, Kamisha Blake, says JANAC's FDA approval will help to make local products more competitive.
It not only satisfies the local scrutiny, but it helps us to meet international requirements and for us to overcome technical barriers to trade. The approval of JANAC by the US FDA as a recognized accreditation body under the accredited third-party certification program for a period of 5 years is quite significant.
Executive Director of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, Imega Breeze McNabb, says the certification will contribute to Jamaica's sustainability and economic growth.
Your authority to accredit certification bodies with the ability to conduct food safety audits under 10 of the 11 possible scopes of accreditation will undoubtedly provide a more seamless experience for local manufacturers and exporters, allowing greater access to international markets.
With third-party certification now approved, the next phase of the process is educating the wider public about the accreditation service. For more information about JANAC and its various accreditation services, visit www.janac.gov.jm or call 876-968-7790. I'm Andre Palmer. Thank you for listening.
A production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.
A difference you can hear, a difference you can feel.
Best FM, keep listening.
One in one.
When there is a hurricane warning, button down, tie down, everything. Lift appliances and furniture off the ground and secure your valuable items. If you wanna boat, secure it on land and turn on your yard. If you a fisherman, make sure you turn off every breaker, and before you sleep, turn off your generator. Flooding, that is a real danger. If you live a gully bank, live a bank or low line area. If you see flood waters are rising, get out, get out. Heed the warning. If your land starts slipping and sliding, get out, get out. Heed the warning. Hurricanes gonna happen, so be prepared.
A message from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management.
For a better choice in all your electrical supplies, A, authorized 3M dealer and better brand names. B, better service including free island-wide delivery. C, all major credit and debit cards accepted. It's ABC Electrical Sales. Shop number 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10. Open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We make your electrical jobs as easy as ABC. Call 754-382-528 or fax 754-3659. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice.
Half a tree, 100, half a tree. Bossy, away I do I take taxi start?
Jano, I want to tell you, say, at 2 months now, my transmission mash up, and I check everybody and can't hear nothing positive.
Yeah, hear me? Yeah, waste all that time I shop around and never call the experts. Winters Auto have them. Them have over 35 years of experience and them diagnose the problem and get back your transmission brand new. For them service excellent and efficient. Trust me, man. Yeah, hear me? Call them at 929-7040 or go to them at 106 Maxfield Avenue, Kingston 13 and talk directly to the boss. Just tell them I'm me send you.
Wow, you big star. Yeah, man, respect my boss.
Yeah, try calling, cause trust me.
Waiters, Auto Spares and Repairs, good afternoon.
Ah, what a relief.
Vejan Printers for all your printing needs. We specialize in calendars, flyers, brochures, and more. Call us today at 968-7506. That's 968-7506. Or visit us at 4 East Bloomsbury Road, off Hagley Park Road. Vejan Printers, your best choice in printing.
Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
What should a taxi service do for you? On-Time Taxi Service is more than just a ride to the other side of town.
The best taxi service.
They offer clean and spacious vehicles, reliable service, and promise to always look out for their customers. They'll come when you call and take you where you want to go on time.
Need a cab from anywhere at all. You can call us at 926-3866.
We are something special on the road.
The Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM.
It's good, it's better, but nothing beats.
Welcome back to the Morning Connection. I just want to say something.
Yes, Pastor, go ahead and say something.
Yes, as we've been talking about the patterns and what we need to do and how we individually take responsibility. So here's what I want you to do. God helping you. Take your everyday, ordinary life. Your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for Him. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. Readily recognize what He wants from you and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you, always dragging you down to its level of immaturity, God brings out the best out of you, develops well-formed maturity in you. And that is from the Word of God, but it's in the message. Romans 12, 1 and 2. Interesting. So, over to you, my sister.
I love what you just shared because from the outset of the show, I've known that for us to really communicate effectively what the message we carry, we needed to step away from the old-fashioned language of the church and begin to speak to persons in ways that they could incorporate in their daily movement and daily living. What the message call it? Their everyday life?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I've always known that for my faith to really work, I have to move it from a church attending, singing and praying focus to how am I behaving with the people that work in my house? How am I behaving with the clients that I see? This is when I practice law. How do I relate to co-workers? How am I with the man on the street who, as I drive past, stretches out his hand or throws a comment my way? You know, if I'm standing in a line at the bank, well, nobody does it at the post office anymore, but if I'm standing in a line to buy patties or to pay my bill at the supermarket or whatever it is I'm doing, who am I in these everyday moments?
How do you relate to it?
How am I? Yeah.
Because I noticed the pattern as we speak about patterns.
Yes.
You know, Jesus spent most of his time in the everyday hurly-burly of the people.
I love that hurly-burly.
He was not in the...
Not in temple preaching.
No, man, he was out in the fields.
Yeah, if you want to catch him, you better be walking the street.
Him out in the field, him at the shore, him talking to the fishermen. He was in their daily lives.
To the point where people would seek him out.
Yeah, and come to look for him. Because that struck me very, very strongly when I graduated from the University of the West Indies. And it was a simple prayer that I prayed. I said, God, if this thing can't work in the marketplace, I don't want none of it. I'd come to a point in terms of my own walk to say, okay, now, it's nice when you're at university and praising God and so on, but then when you get into the workplace and the boss and doing all, how does my Christianity, my faith, get feet that it can walk? And that was a simple prayer. Because I said to people a lot of the times, you can't stay in a church and backside. I said, what are you talking about? I say, of course you can do that.
But the only place to backslide is in church.
People in the church.
And I'll explain to you why. Which is what I want to just open up a conversation on it, because we are so legalistic. All the people who call are talking about a law against this or a law against that, or we are seeking to use certain tools to build a consciousness of righteous living, and those tools have already been disqualified. I did what the teacher would do. When the student look away and start to find their own thing, Pastor went into the newspaper.
I'm listening.
Yes. I want us to just get into a conversation, a deep conversation about how we translate the mind of God in a relatable and relevant way to those who call, who listen, and who are seeking to say, well, all right, so we see that the kings did evil, the people did evil, and the prophets were ignored. We are standing in the place of the prophet now, I mean, I'm bold enough to say that. And
as watchmen.
We are watchmen. We are translating the heart of God to those who are seeking to bring themselves in alignment. Many of us are still going between Old Testament and New Testament, the law versus the spirit. And
people continue to work that tension through, I believe, because until they get the revelation.
So here's part 1 of the revelation. The Apostle Paul, so nothing new under the sun, let's be clear about that. The church in Corinth struggled with the same issue.
Mm-hmm.
And the Apostle Paul, in his second epistle to them, addressed it in chapter 3. I like the way he addressed it, and I want to share that this morning. Maybe you should hunt it up on the message. The message seemed to be so much more comfortable in its articulation of things. The Apostle Paul said, first he said, you remember when Moses spent time in the presence of God, and when he came down, his face was so bright, so radiant, the people wouldn't look at him and they became scared. And he had to put a veil over his face. So that's how he starts. He says, there is always glory in the presence of God. But the glory that Moses displayed when he came down from the mountain was a passing glory, transient. The radiance faded after a time because, as we know, there was no indwelling of the Spirit of God in Moses. The Spirit would just visit with him, be on him, and then it would leave. Because it is really only the death of Christ that made it possible for the Spirit to indwell man.
Yeah.
So Moses, when he came down from the mountain, his face was radiant, and a veil was used to
shield the glory
from the onlookers who couldn't tolerate it. Paul, in his letter to the Corinthians, started to explain that. He says the righteousness that came from experiencing that glory was transitory. It passed, it faded. And the veil that was used to hide it from the people meant that their own understanding and full experience of it was through a cloud, a veil, a mist. You couldn't fully experience it. You couldn't tolerate it. You couldn't look on it. And then now in verse 13, he says, we are not like Moses, who would put a veil over his face to prevent the Israelites from seeing the end of what was passing away. But their minds were made dull, for to this day, the same veil remains when the old covenant is read. So time and again, people are coming up and reading over the old laws, the Mosaic law, and they're beginning to look at it as if it has a code to righteousness. It does not. It has no code to righteousness. It is only law, and law means it can be broken, and when it is broken, you are punished, and you cannot live by law.
And it acts as a schoolmaster.
Yes, yeah. Oh, you found it. Okay. So the Apostle Paul was explaining the reason why we cannot ever use the Mosaic law as a guidance or as a tool to achieve righteousness is because it is transitory. Our minds cannot go behind it to see the spirit of it. In fact, that only became possible after the advent of Christ.
Yeah.
So he says, even to this day, when Moses is read, a veil covers their hearts. But whenever anyone turns to the Lord, the veil is taken away.
Yeah.
Now, the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And we all who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. So those who are going back to the Old Testament and saying, in there lies my salvation. Let's return to, the death penalty. Let's execute them because they broke the law, and the law said the penalty is death. Let us make this or that into a criminal offense. Let us use the weight of the law to create an environment of righteousness or good behavior. It is impossible. Been there, done that, failed. Would you agree?
It does, but even in saying that, the people who come into the revelation of what the law cannot do and what the Spirit can do have to come to that through an encounter.
Yes.
Through the Christ.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it says. Yeah.
And what I've discovered, and this is there are some churches, some church leaders who have got it and are teaching it. When you come to the path of righteousness through Christ, through the encounter, and just remember now, I'm not talking about altar call. I'm talking about what we described earlier. In your everyday living, in your everyday walk, you are understanding and living out the heart of God. You recognize that it is His will and His way of love that is going to bring you to that place of righteousness. And He says, I sent my Son. He is the way. Follow Him. Mimic what He does. Become a disciple of His. When you are a disciple of His and you have that renewed mind and spirit, you can go back into the Old Testament and look at the rituals. You can look at the altars. You can look at, because those principles have power and they still work, but they don't work to give righteousness unless you have taken in the Spirit of Christ and you're walking in His footsteps. So that's my contribution to the morning's work. Your time now, Pastor.
No, you just that with that kind of hope to excite us, nothing holds us back. Unlike Moses, we have nothing to hide. Everything is out in the open with us. He wore a veil, so the children of Israel wouldn't notice that the girl was fading away, and they didn't notice. They didn't notice it then, and they didn't notice it now. Don't notice that there's nothing left behind that veil. Even today, when the proclamations of that old bankrupt government are read out, they can't see truth. Only Christ can get rid of the veil so they can see for themselves that there's nothing there. That's important of Christ. I keep saying that.
Yeah.
Whenever, though, they turn to face God, as Moses did, God removes the veil, and there they are face to face. They suddenly recognize that God is a living, personal presence, not a piece of chiseled stone. And when God is personally present, a living spirit, that old constricting legislation is recognized as obsolete. We are free of it, all of us. Nothing between us and God, our face shining with the brightness of His face. And so we are transfigured, much like the Messiah. Our lives gradually becoming brighter and more beautiful as God enters our life and we become like Him.
Imago Dei.
Yes.
The image.
So
love it.
It's interesting.
All right, you can tell I love it. I love it because I was searching so deeply to bring that reconciliation between the knowledge of God and the experience of God. I didn't want the knowledge without the experience. And it was so difficult to find it by just even looking at what was going on around us. You see people saying one thing and living another. And that's not the half of it. Because, persons can make mistakes, but you don't see persons displaying that humility and that submission to higher principles. They give with one hand, they take with the other. And you see it happen in homes, you see it happen in institutions, you see it happen in governments. One of the reasons I did law, I had the expectation that law would be a place of integrity and certainty for me. I grew up one of 7 children. If you want to speak, you gotta develop some big lungs, or or I don't know, you go outside and speak to the animals. Noise all the time. People talking, shouting, this one want, that one. It is, to this day, it is very unsettling to my spirit to be in a place of noisy engagement.
You mean when you go into the courts? That's how it sounds?
No, that's why I went. I'm telling you now why I was attracted to law. Even from my debating days, the first speaker have 5 minutes, the second speaker have his 3 minutes, and the rebuttal. It is all scheduled. It's orchestrated. You don't have to fight to be heard. You are on this agenda schedule. Your name is there. Your time to speak is there. You just need to have your words ready. I never wanted to fight to be heard. Never wanted to fight to be heard, because I feel like you may get overlooked. if you're not loud enough, if you're not tall enough, if you're not strong enough,
That's what
there's
it is, loud
so
and strong
many
and wrong and
so
strong.
many things that can go against you, and you may have your valuable points to be made or your rights end up being trampled because you did not make you know, it's like the man sitting by the pool to get into the water when it is stirred, but always there was somebody more agile than him, more aggressive than him, and he was there for how much years? 30 something? 38 years.
Yeah.
So I was always just being a number 3 child, 2 bigger sisters, then followed by 2 boys. I just always felt like, when will it be my turn? How am I going to make sure I don't get left behind? So I looked for safe places where I could have the expectation. So you must imagine my great surprise to come into the world and realize that is disorder and clamor, and there's nobody respect that is your time to speak. People is jump up when they feel like
in what in law.
It
in
happens in the courts. It happened in life. It happened in the bus. It happened in because. But we're coming back now to why it is that successive governments fail, because we don't train ourselves into appreciating the foundation for righteous living. We think we can do it based on our height, our strength, the loudness of the voice, whatever. We are always pushing using our own skills and our own belief in self, and that will fail us every time.
Because our righteousness is as filthy rags.
On our best day, we don't make the grade.
We don't make the grade. And
so I had to find, well, okay, how can I make the grade?
Well, he says it.
And
I threw the door.
I found it.
Through the door. I'm the way, the truth, and the life.
I found it.
Yeah.
And I realized that to practice it with any amount of discipline and sincerity is a struggle, because every day somebody does something to put you out of position for you to respond in the way of the world.
No, it is, and so it's interesting that you raised that as we move towards our 7:30 break. I've come into the revelation of who Christ is and what that means to me and how I'm supposed to live my life in terms of honoring God, loving God, honoring God, fearing Him, loving my neighbor as myself. But how do you deal with those persons who have not come into that revelation? How do you cope with them in a society? I pose that question. We can answer it when we come back.
No,
from
well,
the
I
break.
loved what you took out of the message, that you demonstrate it in your everyday walk. And it's not a quick fix or an immediate thing. It's painfully going through day by day, consistently demonstrating that this is who you are and why. Persons will ask you the reason for the hope that is within you. Because when they see you pushing through, and it's one of the reasons why community engagement is so important. If you are a believer living in a community, your community must feel your presence.
You must create a desire to be like you.
Because you work with them. If there's an issue, you're a part of the solution. It's not the intention for us to live in communities where we're strangers to each other.
Let's know, say, Pastor, Brother P, down the road.
Absolutely.
Want a cup of tea, you can go check Brother
And
P.
and it's one of the reasons too why rich people will have such a hard time, because you're behind your big gates, locked away. You don't even know your neighbor. You don't even know your neighbor. So you have to make an effort to get out there, to stand by the roadside so somebody can know that you exist.
And the truth is, life is best lived in community. Life,
of course,
is best
living is a communal affair. Anything else is just existing.
A lot of the things that we see people pushing and these smart cities that you don't interact, me say, there's a good part of it. But we have been created as social
animals.
Yes, and we must live and work out everything we do in community. It is our 7:30 break, and when we come back, you see where it takes us.
A difference you can hear, a difference you can feel.
Best FM 100 on your dial. Keep listening.
People, are you listening?
If you choose to remain at home after an evacuation order has been issued, you do so at your own risk.
Get down, get down! Heed the warning!
Veteran Printers for all your printing needs. We specialize in calendars, flyers, brochures, and more. Call us today at 968-7506. That's 968-7506. Or visit us at 4 East Bloomsbury Road, off Haggard Park Road. Veteran Printers, your best choice in printing.
Half a tree, one and drive, half a tree. Bossy, away, I do I take taxi star.
Jano, I want to tell you, say, 2 months now, my transmission mash up, and I check everybody and can't hear nothing positive.
Yeah, hear me? Yeah, waste all that time I shop around and never call the experts. Winters Auto have them. Them have over 35 years of experience and them diagnose the problem and get back your transmission brand new. For them service excellent and efficient. Trust me, man. Yeah, hear me? Call them at 929-7040 or go to them at 106 Maxfield Avenue, Kingston 13 and talk directly to the boss. Just tell them I'm me send you.
Wow, you big star. Yeah, man, respect my boss.
Yeah, try calling her, cause trust me.
Winters Auto Spares and Repairs, good afternoon.
Ah, what a relief.
Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
What should a taxi service do for you? On-time taxi service is more than just a ride to the other side of town.
The best taxi service.
They offer clean and spacious vehicles, reliable service, and promise to always look out for their customers. They'll come when you call and take you where you want to go on time.
Need a cab from anywhere at all. You can call us at 926-3866.
We are something special on the road.
The Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM.
It's good, it's better, but nothing beats.
Good morning and welcome back. May I just say good morning to the persons online who are touching us. Conrad says the Bible's still failing Africans. And, many people say the Bible are failing them, not just Africans. In truth, if I were the descendants of the Edomites or the Moabites or the Ammonites, I would throw out the Bible and say, but what kind of way is that Bible representing us? But the truth is, in my spirit, I want to say, God is not the Bible. I can say that. I can say that. God is not the Bible. Find God, or allow yourself to experience Him.
Reveals Himself through it.
Yeah. The thing that impressed me the most from the Bible is where the prophets were told to let mankind know that I will write my law upon their hearts. So if the Bible is confounding and you're not really finding yourself in it, I remember when I searched it to find references to the islands, because you read about every tribe and every landmass.
Yeah, present, yeah.
Yeah, and you say, but hold on, am I not here? And I searched and I found. So once you get the first revelation that allows you to understand it well, the rest will come. It's a work in progress. And, like any love relationship, there's great excitement in discovering the character and the beauty of your love partner. True. So it is with God.
Yeah.
It's just a wonderful thing to discover, like, He has a sense of humor.
A big sense of humor.
And when you say He, Immediately he says she.
Yeah.
Great sense of humor. In fact, there's nothing about us, nothing, let's say, good, virtuous about us that we can't find in him in great, unending abundance. So just like how our hearts are moved with compassion and we can feel, the heights and the depths of whatever, and we respond to nature sometimes, you sit outside and you're just overwhelmed. Your senses can't interpret it fast enough. It's just one good big feeling.
That's why the heavens declare the glory of God.
Yeah.
The firmament speak of his handiwork. On today.
Good old King James poetic language.
You understand?
I know.
Points us to who God is.
I'm not, I know you like the message, and I can find the message, but I still love the rhythm of the
James?
The more poetic version that we use in school.
Okay.
It's just, I guess
just what
it's not so much it's more how it takes you back to the time and place when you first understood it or learned it or whatever.
Take me back. Yeah, one song. Take me back, dear Lord.
A little bit of nostalgic walk.
To the place.
All right. There are some things, Pastor Percival, that we need to kind of get to step now into contemporary discussions.
No, I tell you something. It is interesting, even as we go to the news of the day and what's happening currently, how current is what we shared this morning in terms of principles. Because what I've learned in life is that principles are principles. And if you follow principles, you are going to win, you are going to succeed, you're going to overcome each time.
But what I like to do, I mean, of course, you're absolutely right. And what I want us to do is to start to look at current day events through the lens of those principles.
Yes.
That's what I want to do. Because those are the things people are contending with today.
Yeah.
And they might say, and they might say, okay, so that was the Old Testament. How that apply to the highway in St. Thomas that can't finish, and
it's not going to finish. That's 3 years behind when it started. Remember, that project was signed, sealed off on contract signed, and when government change it, and you see, the principle of what the highway would do hasn't changed. And the implementation, if we were to dig deep into it, hasn't really changed. It's just that I want to eat a food. You're not going to eat this food. So, which is what normally happens when government changes. Because there's a mentality, and we have to be so careful as we were just speaking about the principles. Our political class, our business class have to be so careful that we need to break the cycle of just eat a food. It is a mentality that is pervasive throughout our society, and a lot of the time they're trying to bring order into situation, but prevent a man from eat a food. So we see the crassness, we see it. The disorder, we see the chaos on our roads. We look at the sidewalks and people have set up their businesses on the sidewalk. So the disabled can't move around
navigate,
easily. And because they prevent a man from eat a food. You look on the roads and you see... I saw it. I picked up my daughter in New Kingston. And I said, okay. So we go in and we see a taxi man. You know where the Texaco station is, where that hotel is. The hotel there.
Where are you?
In New Kingston, right across from where the
Spanish Court?
It's Spanish Court Hotel. So the Spanish Court, the road, you can't, there's a median in the road, and you are supposed to, when you come up that road, you turn left, or if you're coming, you turn. I saw a taxi man, and it just blew. I was so discombobulated by what I saw that I wasn't focusing on that I was driving the car. He just comes up the road, turns left, navigates a median, and goes across the road. And I say, hello? What's happening here? And they seem to have a different road traffic code from everybody else. And I'm saying to myself, that is a nightmare in itself.
All right, can we speak about the highway nightmare from a from a different perspective?
No, sir. But that is the nightmares that we deal with every day, and I understand this nightmare. So that is a nightmare. You're driving it,
I want to touch on, I want to raise this point before we get to talking to persons, because it touches on the bigger issue that we've been highlighting. So building out the infrastructure of roads and whatever it is we're doing, the built environment of this country is the responsibility of government.
True.
The design of it, the procurement process to get the right contractor, the oversight of it to ensure that it is being done on time and on budget, all those are functions of the public sector.
Not be done corruptly.
Now we talk about they did evil in the sight of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we want to link how governments perform to the standard of righteousness, which when they miss it, creates agony for the society, for the people. And there's no Babylon for us to be carted off to, but we are doing self-imposed exile because we are migrating. And people say what teachers are doing today is not new, and in truth, it is not. Jamaicans have been leaving Jamaica for better opportunities from the time of independence.
Before independence,
yes.
Because remember, Gabby was all over the place.
Well, he was
the migration, the Windrush, and all of those people. Yeah.
Well, it happens in different ways. You're seduced. Windrush was a seduction. Come over here and help build. Send us your tradesmen. But things here weren't bright, so it was attractive to go somewhere and build somebody else's country. We've gone to build the Panama Canal. We've gone to Cuba. I don't know what we're building in Cuba. We have family in Costa Rica. New York is really little Jamaica. We're all over the place. Jamaicans are everywhere, having left. So don't have to worry about Nebuchadnezzar coming to take us.
And take us on the port.
We are going on our own. We are going because conditions in the country not sufficient to keep us here.
True.
So the remnant that remain is who now have to fight to recapture the heart of the country. So follow me now. Our leaders are responsible for managing the building out of infrastructure. How do they do it? This is where the fall from grace is made evident. We set up elaborate procurement procedures. We're not short on those. And then we break them.
Are you a butt comment?
And then we break them.
I'm butting in.
Yes, that's a butt Bring in your butt.
No, but
yeah.
You set up these systems, and we've seen it even recently. There was a big fight between a provider of a specialized vehicle got bid, and then you remember that?
Yes.
And then the man said, "Going soon, no, cause after me go on and put in this thing." You had followed the procedures, and then a mere afterwards. You know what it is?
Cronyism. So this is where now you see that tension between man's attempt to be righteous and the inability of the law to give you that righteousness. Because we're doing the right things. We put in procurement procedure. We have bids and tenders. We have commissions and inquiries. Yet, when you come down to it, you have a highway being built in an important corridor, important for just living, important for trade. And it's going years. And it can't finish.
You know,
and you move from contractor to contractor.
Yeah, but you know?
Yes.
One that has been going on for many years and it has quietly gone is when you're going to St. Mary.
Which one is that?
The
Going from which end?
From St. Andrew to going to St. Mary,
Okay.
man. With the it momentarily, the one that were supposed to finish quick, man, and they was lining up the road.
Oh yes.
We were talking.
Yeah, I know
we
what
got
you're
to St.
talking
Mary,
about.
Port Antonio,
Right.
and
right.
parts of it are still not yet
Yes,
complete.
yeah.
After many years, and they say, "What?" So I said, "Don't we have engineers who know what is happening? Didn't they take proper soil samples to know how you'd build out that road? Because some of that road has collapsed or the mountain come down." I am just, and billions of dollars been spent, you know.
So that's the link that I'm making, and we can do it in the area of law and order, as Pastor say. You have the specialized vehicles, you have the fleet of vehicles being procured for the police, you have this every type of contract, and we do have systems for procurement that are meant to work with integrity and produce a just result. But somehow we end up mired in corruption and dispute. We see what's happening with the farm workers. There was a story on last night. One of the farm workers who quit the job after 2 months gave an interview. He said him don't know if the liaison officer black, white, short, tall, fat.
Never seen him.
Never seen him. Calls go unanswered or not returned. And all the complaints he had. I said that man was too intelligent for farm work. He quit it and come home.
No, but they have some
Because he said they have no process to handle complaints and issues that arise. So you're supposed to be up there, you know, so desperate for an opportunity, so hungry for the foreign exchange that you take anything. They treat you anyway and you go on with it.
You're slavery.
Because this is the new slavery. So you see all these things we set up. We say, okay, if we can't employ all of our people, let us find opportunities for them elsewhere. It's supposed to be good. It's supposed to be a blessing.
It's supposed to be a good thing. But it's not.
Yet in
the art of the man mix up and him just has
there you go. So that is why law going to fail you every time if you do not have the heart of God. No matter what you set up, intending it to be good, it becomes an offense and the subject of abuse by people who are heartless. It's why in one of the declarations that we do on Wednesday mornings, I ask for our systems to be released from the clutches of unbelieving and cynical men and women. Very careful about the choice of those two words. Unbelieving persons have no faith. They do not believe that God is able. They believe that we live in a time of scarcity. They believe that there is no abundance.
They are cynical.
And when they are cynical, they are expecting man to fail. They are expecting systems to fail. And so they become vulnerable to bribery, to disillusionment, to depression. And when they are the ones running your business, you are in trouble.
You're in big trouble. You're doing virtue for the sake of it. Doing all of these announcements.
All about appearance.
And you remember there's a cartoon from last week where the lady who represents General Purpose said, him going around making all of these announcements and things, and it was the Prime Minister sitting in his bed and said, you have to lead up for the appearance. You have to keep up the appearance. Oh,
yes.
Jeez.
Yeah. Everything is a promotional event these days. It's all about how it looks. Even when you talk about the Prime Minister says he wants to make some changes in the Boulevard area.
Yeah, what is that?
It's about how it looks. It don't look right. It don't. No, I'm not saying that the aesthetics are irrelevant. Me, above all, could never say that. Because I do understand that how a thing looks
is important. But be like the Cubans.
The appearance must be substantial.
But be like the Cubans.
Tell me about the Cubans.
When you go to Cuba, I says, if I came to Cuba and I set up a paint business, I'd be a millionaire overnight because the work is going on. You've been there, but the building looks so drab, like they have not been painted in like a long time.
Have you been to Spain?
No. You've been to Spain?
I've been to España.
Oh, wow. But I figured in. But I
Drab is in.
Drab is in. No, but
It has it mimics the Spanish architecture just almost precisely, and sure they're not wasting money on paint.
Yeah, that's where I was going, because it says the resources are scarce. Let us